Hey everyone, it's James George with Creative Beacon. This week I'm going to talk about the upgrades to Adobe Illustrator. We're going to talk about a couple of key new features, such as the curvature tool and libraries. So let's hop over to Illustrator, and you'll see that you have a new tool next to your regular pen tool called the curvature tool. Now this is meant to be pretty simple and intuitive. And so let's say you place a point. You place another point. When you drag out from that second point, you'll see that where you drag your mouse, it affects the curve of the first segment as well as the second one. So when you click the second point and then you drag out to do your third, that affects the curvature of what you've created so far. So you can see that it gives you a preview of how things will look. And so you can keep clicking. And you can really create some round shapes with this. Now let's say that your next line you want to be straight. If you hold down Alt or Option and click on a point, that next segment is going to be straight. And you can see that if I click and drag, or if I don't click the Alt key or Option key and I go to move it again, this is going to be curved. So to keep making straight lines, you've got to click on that point and it will be straight. And now you can go back to curved again. This is meant to make things more intuitive for your work. And I think it's interesting. You know, you still got the regular pen tool, but now you have the curvature tool to make any sort of shape that you want. I think that's really handy. You can do anything with this. That's great. Now, we'll talk about libraries. Libraries is something that I think is really interesting because a lot of times I'll use Photoshop and Illustrator together. And the cool thing about libraries is that when you create something in Photoshop, you can save it in your library and then it will be accessible in Illustrator. And you can create a new library for different projects. And I think this is the easiest way to handle things. So let's say that you're working on a branding project and you could create a new library for their logo. You could say, let's say you're working on a new McDonald's logo or something. I'm just using that as an example. But you could say create new library McDonald's and then save all your assets in there. And then that way when you go to Photoshop, you don't have to hunt for all the assets of that logo or that project in a folder somewhere on your computer. It's in your library and you just go to your library and it's there. Now, when you have something saved in your library, all you have to do is right click on it and say use in document. And then an instance of it is dropped on your screen. And so this was an olive from an icon set that I created. But you can see that it's fully editable and it's not like a symbol. It's not creating an instance of it. This is an actual copy of something that you've created and saved as an asset. Now let's say that I changed this and I'll just make a copy of this. Actually, I'll make a copy of this and then I'll paste another instance and I'll edit it. Let's say I just changed it. I'll grab the pen tool and I'll close this off. Now I'm going to change the color and add a slight shadow. So you can see the difference here. I now have a slight shadow and oops, let me fix this. 2 seconds here, just as an example. So you see that you have your shadow here. Now you can see that the graphic inside your library hasn't changed, but what you can do is you can add the updated one or the secondary version. Like let's say that you had a black and white version of your logo and then you had a color version. Well, you want to save the color version because it has the PMS swatches for the logo for printing purposes. So what you can do, just make that object the selected or active graphic. Then go down here to your libraries panel, and there's a little icon here that says add graphic. And you can add it, and it says artwork 2, and you can name it. So you could say shadow or something so that you know what it is. And that's it. And so when you hop over to Photoshop, it will be in your libraries as shadow, and you'll know when you add that to your document, you'll know that exactly what it is by its name and its little preview. Well, I hope you try out some of the new features and the latest update to Adobe Illustrator. If you have any tips or have any questions, feel free to email me at james@creativebeacon.com.